Welcome back to TechNet Radio. It's IT time, and in part 3 of this Windows Phone 7 overview, we hear from Jeff Morris as he covers enterprise capabilities for Windows Phone. Listen in as he discusses Exchange ActiveSync, some changes and improvements, as well as security and policy features for IT admins. Blaine, the mic is yours.
And speaking of phones, we have on the phone Jeff Morris, also a mobility solution specialist with Microsoft, a veteran of 13 years with the company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Are you on the phone, Jeff?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Great.
So welcome, Jeff. I thought we'd start this interview with a little bit about you, getting to know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, as you mentioned, I am a 13-year veteran of Microsoft. Came to Microsoft from a small aluminum company based out of Pittsburgh here, where I had spent several years as a lead technical architect on a major project converting over from various different technologies to the Microsoft platform. Prior to that, I had spent some time with another manufacturer in Pittsburgh here. And actually, it's kind of interesting. I got started in the computer world. I'm a musician at heart, and I was programming synthesizers back in the 70s and early 80s, and then that led right over to the natural progression was programming computers. So, Commodore 64 was the first intro into the world of PCs. But I can tell you a little bit about what else I do here at Microsoft. I started off at the time when we launched SQL Server 7, and what I find still to this day amazing is when we were first having discussions with customers back in the the early days of SQL 7, they were asking us questions around how much data can SQL 7 manage? Would it be able? They were sitting on a 5 gig data warehouse, or they had 10 gig of data, and would SQL Server be able to manage that amount of data? And I'm sitting here with my Windows Phone 7 in my hand, and I've got 16 gig of onboard memory that's being managed by a mobile operating system. So I'm always amazed at how much in the short period of time how things have changed here in the landscape. That's a little bit about me.
It's Microsoft and Bill Gates and his vision of having that 5 megabyte hard disk and 64K of memory is kind of not the scenario in these days, right?
I don't think so. No, I don't think.
Yeah.
Jeff, so tell me a little bit about ActiveSync with Exchange on the phone. Have there been any changes or improvements made with that?
Yeah, so John, why don't I maybe I'll just step back and for our listeners and viewers, give them just a little bit of an overview of what ActiveSync is, and then go into some specifics around what we've done with the protocol as it relates to Windows Phone 7. So Exchange ActiveSync is a protocol that is included with Exchange. It's been in Exchange since 2003 Service Pack 2, so I know that we still have, I speak to them every day, we still have a lot of our customers that are running on the 2003 Exchange platform with Service Pack 2, and just want to let them know that they're not excluded from taking advantage of ActiveSync with Windows Phone 7. If they have that platform, they can still certainly use it. But we originally launched, and at the time we called it AirSync, way back with a product called Microsoft Information Server, and this was back in the 2001-2002 timeframe, and that was the protocol that allowed the phones to synchronize data back inside the firewall. What we did is we lifted that protocol out of that product, put it into Exchange in around 2003. And in 2003 with Service Pack 2 is when we really introduced, I think, the enterprise features that our customers were asking for. Not only did we move off of a reliance for using SMS text messaging as the mechanism for alerting the phone that a new message had been received in the mailbox, moved off of that onto HTTP protocols, but We also introduced a handful of enterprise policies that our enterprise customers were looking for to secure the data on the handset. Things like minimum password length and requiring a password, and even the ability to remotely wipe the device if it was lost or stolen. And so, again, our users that have that 2003 Service Pack 2 Exchange environment still up and running and are still getting value out of that platform, they can very easily enable that ActiveSync protocol. And if their security policies require, a PIN lock on the handset and a remote wipe and things like that, they can certainly take advantage of Exchange ActiveSync today. Then with the introduction of Exchange 2007, we added a little bit more functionality to the protocol. Specifically, some things are, a little bit more deeper security. For instance, at that time, the corresponding version of Windows Mobile included the ability to encrypt removable storage data. So there was a policy added in Exchange ActiveSync to support that, the ability to enforce encryption on removable storage. With Service Pack 1, we upped the ante to added about another 30 new policies to the protocol, everything from the ability to disable hardware on the handset, the ability to manage applications that were on the handset, whether or not you would allow those applications to run, to be installed, things of that nature. And then we also enabled the full device encryption capability, because at that time we introduced Windows Mobile 6.1, which brought the ability to fully encrypt the handset. With Exchange 2010, and again, I'm seeing a lot of customers now that are making the migration from either 2003 or 2007 to 2010. With 2010, specifically, that probably one of the biggest things that we added in the ActiveSync protocol was the ability to allow, block, or quarantine the different handsets that are out there. And we'll talk about those different handsets in just a second. But essentially, one of the biggest challenges for our enterprise customers that want to enable ActiveSync but want to still maintain some amount of control over the types of devices that are synchronizing is how do they prohibit those devices from synchronizing. So with 2010, Exchange 2010 and the ActiveSync protocol there, we introduced the Allow Block Quarantine. Essentially, that allows you to explicitly name the device types that you want to allow to synchronize with Exchange. It allows you to explicitly name the devices that you want to block from synchronizing with Exchange. And then the quarantine piece is very interesting, because what that allows you to do, and as we all know, there are new handsets and new versions of the operating system being introduced at a spectacular rate across all of the different handset manufacturers and different operating systems. It's literally impossible to, it would be a full-time job for an army of folks inside of these enterprises to try to even keep on top of all of these different devices. So what the quarantine feature allows the organization to do is to, again, if the device isn't explicitly named as allowed or isn't explicitly named as blocked, it goes into quarantine, which means that it does not establish the ActiveSync relationship, but it alerts the administrator that a new device type is trying to synchronize. And this now allows the administrator to proactively go out, take a look at that handset, determine whether or not that's one they're going to allow, put on their approved list, and then at that point either allow that device in or send a courteous note back to the end user that unfortunately that device type is not allowed in the organization. So we're seeing organizations that have certain rules around what device types can synchronize to their Exchange environment, really embracing this Allow Block Quarantine feature to enable them to do that. There's one other feature too that I do want to point out that is available in the 2007 product as well, that gives a similar level of security as to which device types or which devices can access the network. And that is a capability within Exchange ActiveSync in 2007, and it's also in 2010 as well. But it's called Device ID User ID Pairing. And essentially what that feature allows is it allows the organization to take a unique device ID, which is very similar to a MAC address on a network card, take that unique device ID and pair it to a mailbox in Exchange. Once paired, only that unique device ID will have the ability to establish an ActiveSync relationship with that mailbox and to successfully execute that Exchange ActiveSync relationship. If the end user stops by a kiosk in the mall over the weekend, picks up a new handset, and then tries to connect that handset to their mailbox over the ActiveSync protocol, it will be blocked because that particular device ID does not match the one that is paired with their mailbox. Now, the administrator can go ahead and add that new device ID, and then the user could use both devices, or they might want to say, I'm not using the other one anymore, and the admin can just apply the new device ID. But it's a great way to give very granular access to mailboxes within ActiveSync. And when we pull this all together, a very common scenario that I see from a provisioning standpoint for our customers is, and again, a lot of this goes back to what we call the individual liable approach to device acquisition, where the corporations are not going to make a capital expenditure for the handsets and then provide those to the users. More, they're going to say, go get, here's a list of supported devices, go pick the one you want, and you can use it. A great way that ActiveSync allows that support, and here's a provisioning process that I'm seeing a lot of the organizations adopt, where they will disable ActiveSync on all the mailboxes, and then when a user wants to become ActiveSync enabled, they will enable the ActiveSync. They will allow the device to make the initial synchronization, acquire the device ID from that device, pair it against that mailbox, and they now can rest assured, the organization can rest assured that that user is, one, provisioned to access ActiveSync, and they can only access it with that device. So that's just some, when we're talking about defense in depth and we're having discussions with risk offices around, securing, the data inside the firewall. These are just all great ways that allow them to accomplish that using, for many of our customers, a low-cost or a no-cost approach, because a lot of our customers are already licensed appropriately to use the Exchange ActiveSync protocol. They just need to enable it. Okay, so let's shift gears just a little bit, and let's talk about Windows Phone 7 and what we've done to enable ActiveSync support on those handsets. Now, as you saw in the earlier section when Ken was doing a great job demoing the features and capabilities of Windows Phone 7, we've done an awful lot with that platform to make it not only a great phone that you want to carry in your pocket every day to do your personal things, but also a great phone that helps you be very productive at work. And what we've done with regards to the ActiveSync protocol is we've given you the ability as an administrator in Exchange to enforce a PIN on the device. We give you the ability to not only enforce the PIN, but also to remotely wipe the device if it were lost or stolen. We give you the ability to set a timeout on the device. So if you put the device down after X amount of minutes, the device will go ahead and lock itself so that it's not accessible. Somebody would be forced to re-enter the PIN to get access to it. And then what we've also done is given the ability, if somebody does find your device, if it's lost or stolen, and it's in that locked state, that PIN locked state, you can set the number of failed attempts before the handset will essentially self-destruct. We call that a local wipe capability. So those particular policies that we support are enforceable through the Exchange server. So if a user were going to try to disable or not, agree to those particular policies, they would not be able to establish the ActiveSync protocol or the relationship with ActiveSync. The Exchange server would prohibit them from attaching that device to the mailbox. Now, we do have questions that come up around security for data at rest on the handset. And at general availability, encryption of data at rest on the handset is not supported in the ActiveSync protocol or the data that's been synchronized with ActiveSync. We do support encryption on the handsets for third-party applications that run in their own compartments. So I just want to put that out there. If there are any developers out there that are interested in writing an application and want to encrypt their data that resides inside their application, we absolutely do support that. We've got a lot of information on that on our websites as well. And then the other piece of the security for Windows Phone 7 with regards to that data at rest encryption, there is no concept of a removable storage on Windows Phone 7 as we had on the Windows Mobile platform. So the concern around needing to encrypt a removable storage card is not present. There just simply is not removable storage on Windows Phone 7. I just want to briefly touch on some of the other clients that also are ActiveSync enabled. It may be good to point out that ActiveSync as a protocol is a licensable protocol from Microsoft. So, no doubt you've seen, iPhones, which Apple has licensed the protocol, the ActiveSync protocol, or you've seen the different Android or Droid handsets, and those have been licensed. Google has licensed that, the ActiveSync protocol from Microsoft as well. Essentially, what we do is we license the protocol to the handset manufacturers or the operating system platform folks, and they can take the ActiveSync protocol and implement the components of that protocol that they see best meets the requirements for the handset based on the market that they want to target the device at. So there are two parts of the ActiveSync protocol. There's the synchronization capabilities, and there are the policy capabilities. So you will see, depending on the device in question, and it could even be the version of the operating system on the device in question, various support levels of either the synchronization capabilities or the policy capabilities. So we have a comparison table that we manage on our website that is maintained that while we are not standing by it as a definitive source, it certainly is a great place for someone to go to get a quick idea, to understand a version of a particular platform and what the Exchange capabilities are based on the version of ActiveSync they're running, which is ultimately based on the version of Exchange that they have installed. So we are trying to make it a little easier on our IT pros, our IT admins, specifically our Exchange admins, so that they can get an idea as to what we're supporting or what devices are being supported by the ActiveSync protocol. And that's about what I have today.
Well, excellent. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So you're hearing from Jeff Morris about Windows Phone 7 and the enterprise. Just a little bit about Jeff. Once again, Jeff is a mobility solutions specialist for Microsoft's U.S. incubation sales, managing the mobility business for the Mid-Atlantic States district. He's out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by the way. So also for the past several years, he's been involved with enterprise organizations adopting Windows Phone by providing, as you can see, great in-depth about the technology surrounding the phone, as well as providing consultative guidance around device management and security for the wireless messaging and mobile line of business application scenarios. So that was great. 13-year veteran, been with Microsoft that long, held technical roles within the organization from developer, tools, technology specialist, to application platform solution specialist, account TS, Microsoft certified system engineer, and certified product specialist credentials. Once again, thanks, Jeff, for being on the IT Time radio show. And you heard about the great features and benefits of Windows Phone 7 from Ken Milner. He's a mobility solutions specialist here with Microsoft. He's also been an enterprise account manager. He's got a degree out of Georgia State University. So we'll do a little plug for your college there. And also a great background. He mentioned, his role with IBM as well as VeriSign and some other technology companies. It was great having you demo that phone. I'm excited. I need to go out and get my own phone, Ken.
Yeah, what's taking so long?
I'm getting there. I'm about ready to make that transition over to Windows Phone 7. So with that, hey, thanks, Ken, for being on IT Time Radio. I'm your host, Blaine Barton, Senior IT Pro Evangelist with Microsoft. Thanks a lot for being on the show.